Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. Looks like we've got a great crowd here. There's barely any empty seats. That's a great thing. Thanks for coming. And thanks to Pat Meyer, because several years ago, he also packed us again. So we always love it when our filmmakers come in and pack the house. It's a good thing. Tonight, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Pete Crane. I'm the Vice President of Education and Access here at the museum. What I'd like to do is start, because I think we have one here, I'd like to start by asking, do we have any World War II veterans or homefront workers in the crowd here today? Either stand up or wave your hand, or... There you go. Other veterans. Others. Stand on up and thanks to all of you. It goes without saying that this country has always depended on its citizens to stand up when needed, and you were there, so thank you. I'd like to thank everybody and welcome you for coming tonight. This is a special evening for us because we get to take a deeper dive than some of the things that we get to normally do. Hopefully you've all known about and have visited our temporary exhibit, The Pelican State Goes to War, about Louisiana's experiences in World War II across the street in our Louisiana Pavilion. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'm putting my plug in right now because next month it comes down, so and heads out on the road. But of course, the story of Louisiana in World War II is a huge story, and there's so much more than we can tell in the limited space that we had to do it. So tonight we're going to get to dive deeply into one of those special stories about Louisiana and the war, and about our Cajun brethren who, I've been calling it the Cajun Code Talkers. But Louisiana's participation overseas and where they were truly needed. So not only were these men who went over to help translate and to participate over in Normandy a huge part of the war, but I think it's a natural fit for us to be doing it here because, as I'm sure you know, the reason this museum is even here in New Orleans is because of Andrew Higgins and the Higgins boats, the 22,000 Higgins boats that were made right here in New Orleans. So for all Louisianans in this room, we have so much to be proud of, and I think tonight is truly going to do that. I'd like to make one special moment and thank the Alta and John Franks Foundation from Shreveport for their support for this. They helped make the exhibit possible. So now I get to introduce Pat Meyer and Mayor. I am sorry.
It's okay.
You got to see how I spell my name. It's horrible. And I should have said that because my dad's in the room. Pat Meyer is a prize-winning documentary and narrative fiction filmmaker based in Lafayette, Louisiana. His documentaries have been aired nationally on PBS, on the Discovery Channel, other television and online networks. And he's won a number of awards, both nationally and internationally, including at the Margaret Mead Film Festival. And the American Anthropological Film Festival, he won the coveted award of the Award of Excellence, which is, if you hadn't heard of it, it's definitely a significant one. He is the founder and artistic director of cinema of the Bayou Film Festival in Lafayette. So, once again, I'm so proud to have you here, and thank you for coming and doing this for us.
Thank you, Pete.
Well, first of all, this room means it's a great room to play, and you're in a special room named after a dear friend of mine, T.G. Solomon. Teddy Solomon was a good friend of mine. And how many people are from like New Orleans area? That's what I want to talk to see. And so, how many people are not from Louisiana? Beautiful, fabulous. This film, Mon Cher Camarade, I'm going to make this real short. We'll do a little Q&A after the film. It's under an hour. I like to think it's informal. This film started, I was an artist in resident at UNO. I don't even have a college experience, but they gave me that. I was an artist in resident at UNO. And some UNO people. And Stephen Ambrose, I brought a book to him, a citizen soldier, and he signed it for my father, Felix Mir, who was in Pat's Third Army, Battle of the Bulge. And he signed a book, and I was friends with Stephen Ambrose. He signed the book, and he closed it. He said, Pat, I won't say he said I was a great filmmaker, but he said, you're a good filmmaker, and you need to go back to Cajun country and tell this story, because I never had really time to do that story justice. And I did. And I went back and I got with Carl Brasso right away, who's a retired history professor from USL, UL now. And told him, I said, man, we should have done this story 15, 20 years ago. Now, this was 15 years back. And he said, no, Pat, they weren't talking. And they really weren't. But anyway, we started this project, and we filmed and lost all the footage. All the first early footage we filmed. I was shooting 16 millimeter to try to have continuity with what they were shooting during World War II. That 35 millimeter footage is so beautiful when you see what those cinematographers were putting out. And all our footage was lost. My cinematographer lived in Lakeview, here in New Orleans. Yeah, man. Can you imagine? And have to go back and start trying to shoot. Now, of course, by then, a lot of our veterans had died. And so, of course, they're not in the film because of that lost footage. But I did, and there's a reason for everything. And I did get a chance to get back, and my own father and people. I just picked up a video camera and just started shooting like crazy. But it was at a time which, we had a World War II veteran. It was a time where we were losing our veterans at such a rapid rate that it was scary. Because I was setting up, and I could cry. I was setting up interviews, and you know, for 2 weeks later, by the time I get there, they weren't available. And so, what you have is what the juice that we squeeze out of it. I hope you enjoy it. I thank you all so much for coming. What a respectable audience, a full house. Thank you all. Give yourself a hand. Appreciate it. Merci beaucoup. Thank you all. We have time for a few questions. Anybody has any? Over here? I do. Through my website. I brought some, but we couldn't. I wasn't here in time. Didn't eat today. Didn't have coffee today, but I'm here. And so I brought some, but if you go through patmeer.com, you can order them through there. Or Louisiana Public Broadcasting, patmeer.com.
And what this was finished in 2008?
It was. Merci. Tu parles français? How many people here do speak French? Oh, Lord. A lot. Tu comprends quand je parle français? Pas comme un Cajun, mais c'est français quand même. Oh, I love that. Oh man, yes. I grew up. I mean, I was young when it was on television. I'm sure some people watched some of that too. So, Dad is so bad. A great actor. He just died recently, just this past year. It's like 217. Cage.
Is that your dad in the movie?
It was my father. He died 206. Yeah. Yeah, he was one of them that we had filmed earlier, and it was easy for me to get back to the film him. I don't know if y'all understood that, but this was hard for me to finish. First of all, because he had died, and I had the footage, and you know what it's like in the edit suite. You guys know what it's like, I guess. But I was looking at this footage every day for several months, and that was hard to get through.
How many veterans did you interview whose stories were destroyed in the flood?
Our producer Rebecca could probably tell you that better than me, but probably 46, 47, 48. Yeah. So they're pushing me to do a book, and I've got all kinds of other things going on, but I think all the interviews are there. I mean, the book should be done. You know.
What's the name of your book?
Mon Cher Camarade. It just won't be, you know, usually you try to accompany each other, but this is just, yes? Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The ones that were lost, the 16 millimeter, what's the time frame that covered? Was that before?
It's a good question. What was the time frame that covered? Probably 2.5 years.
Yeah, I meant before Katrina?
Yes.
In that time period before
Right.
Katrina?
2.5 years, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm just
Katrina was in 205, right?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you interviewed somebody who was the postmaster in Galliano. He was a translator in France during World
There
War
were a
II.
lot of them. There were a lot of people who
I can't say
translated.
his name.
They trained 400 or 500 people in California. These young guys and girls, I guess too, most of the guys. And when they got there, they didn't understand. I mean, the people didn't understand. It was just having a lot of difficulty. So people, the postmaster, the post person in Galliano.
Yeah, his name was Autant. Don't ask me
I know
what pronounce his
Autant.
last.
And there were a lot of them in the water bottom area. And when I worked more in the prairie because I'm from the prairie, and when I was getting into the water bottom area, well, Hurricane Katrina and Rita came upon us, and that's what happened. So.
Yeah, he died in May of 06.
The oral histories are precious. Did you collect oral histories, or did you actually conduct some of the interviews yourself?
The question was, no, I didn't do oral histories. I did the interviews myself. I directed this, and I shot some of this, and yeah. But oral interviews and the book really comes. You know, there wasn't a narrator. I don't know if you understand. This was not a narrator or a host narrator. I had a voice over the king. This was another person who died. It was Sam Broussard. And Sam Broussard worked with, I'm blanking on his name. How did we get to here? With Stephen Ambrose. And this was classified stuff. OSS, they couldn't talk about it for 50 years. So I really had a sweet nut to crack, if you will, when I came into the whole project because it was classified. Now, I took 8th grade history, Louisiana history, here in Louisiana, and they never told us about this stuff. The OSS. Well, Sam worked with OSS. He was with Eisenhower on the planning of the D-Day invasion. And they didn't tell us that back in Eunice and Mahmoud. They didn't. So, one more.
So if I'm understanding the sequence, you started filming, and then you lost a lot of your film
Yes, ma'am.
in Katrina, so then you picked up, salvaged what you couldn't, and started over again.
Well, what was lost in Katrina. I mean, there's nothing to be salvaged. But what I had was some preliminary interviews and just went home crying. There was no. I started the Simon Valley Film Festival because it knocked out New Orleans Film Festival. So I went home. At that point, it was New Orleans for me. You know, I was living uptown here, and I went back to the country, and my mother had passed away, and I was simply with my father, and I just pulled up a camera and just started saying, He said, you gotta do it. You gotta go back and finish this. Here's my dad. If he wouldn't have pushed me, I wouldn't have done this. So,
One last question.
Yep.
The good-looking gentleman at the end, what's his name, Carl LeBlanc?
Carl Russell.
Rosso, the one, the good-looking sitting in the wheel, in the rocker? Is he still alive?
Oh, and the rocker, he is still alive. Mr. Lee Bernard.
That was quite a jump, folks.
Mr. Lee is still alive, and he's in Iraq. And let me, he got the French Medal of Honor. Now, we put this together that, is anybody from the French Consul here by any chance? French Consul? Well, they flew Mr. Lee back to France and gave him the French Medal of Honor. But when the president, Chirac, was coming across and he was giving it to like 48 people, and when he got to Mr. Lee's like me, short, handsome like me. No, but when he got to him, and the necklace medal over him, he said, he shakes the president's hand and said, bien merci. And the president, il parle français? And so they stood there like 10 minutes without totally French after all those years. And CNN was capturing it like you are right now, too. And then we were back here in Louisiana crying. And I said, wow, this is pretty special.
But did Solange show up?
What's that?
Did his girlfriend Solange show up?
He wanted to know that. That's right. So Lord, excuse me. Yes, he wanted to know that. And did he show up? We actually, I swear to God, I'm not making this up. We searched for her. We didn't know. We couldn't find her. This was part of the story.
How many Cajuns were there?
What's that?
How many Cajun soldiers were there?
Oh, over there, hundreds. During World War II, hundreds. My father, a lot of them drafted. I mean, the story, like me, my uncles, my father, and that's another thing. This was like Saving Private Ryan and Mr. Lee Bernard. Had 4 brothers at one time, in the army. It's pretty tough stuff. But when they went to be signed up, they asked them, invariably, they asked them, do you speak a foreign language? Now all these guys were looking at him saying, you speaking a foreign language to us? You know? And they said, yeah, we speak French. I said, no, that's no good, not that French. Until they got over there.
How long did it take you to put this documentary together?
2 or 3 years. It's a good question. It sat and drug a while because we were hurting from Katrina and everything else. So how long did it? I was in the edit suite at Louisiana Public Broadcasting. 6 months. That's what it did. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I understand correctly then, there were a group of linguists that were trained in the United States,
Correct.
sent to France.
Correct.
They had difficulty communicating locally, and then the military turned to the Cajuns to help them out. Is that correct?
Well, the officers in the field understood immediately that the natives understood them. And there was something. And people don't understand this, but try to put it in there. In 1944, the Parisian French had not hit Normandy because the radio and television had not been there. It's not like it is now. It's our recent past. But what's not recent is that the Cajuns had left in the 60s. I mean, a long, long time ago, that French was locked in time. So they were speaking a lot of the same languages as the peasants were speaking in the countryside, you know. And all those terms, like, it would say maintenant, it's stir, ici, right here, right now. All those words, that's the way they spoke. And if they were to use anyone else, any other German linguist with, you know how distinct, I think we got a couple of Québécois in here right now, but you know, languages are distinct. What old Cajun French is Old French. And and that's where they were speaking in France.
Did any of the people that were interviewed had the footage lost in Katrina, had any of them served in North Africa or over in the Pacific Theater?
Yes, and not only that, I have no black Creoles in here, but we had some Creole Noirs who did serve over there, and General LeBlanc was one of them. General LeBlanc served in North Africa too, and I think, but yeah, I interviewed several people who did, and they used their language and, you know, okay, time for two more questions. I'll do this one first.
Do you know if any of the Cajun soldiers were used in the same way in some of the later conflicts?
Like in I would think in Vietnam, because they spoke French in Vietnam. I don't know, there's probably a few Vietnam vets over here, maybe somebody can answer that. I've heard so. I don't know. Quite frankly, I didn't want to go to Vietnam. I'm at that age too. I didn't want to go. Thank you all.
This is not a question. You would play the guitar, correct?
No. That's Sam Broussard. Another Sam Broussard. I can play, but not like that. Thank you, though.
Have you shown a film in Acadie, Nova Scotia?
I'm shooting a film in Quebec, and I'm going to be going through Nouvelle-Écosse, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick, and they want me to do that, and that's going to be in August. So if I do, I'll try to push you a little bit. But it has played in France and Belgium, and